Count you down. 3.
Put it in internal general.
And then you're gonna give me that link. Okay. Oh, you've got it there.
In Rocket Chat internal general.
Should I post the announcements?
Yeah.
Make sure it posts.
Okay, I'm gonna start recording as well. Okay.
Hi. Philip, you're not in frame.
Sorry.
Okay, let me just tweak this.
And shall I post some announcements?
Yeah, I think so.
You can't see the reflection of this light.
What? Why did you move light?
I don't know. It was like
Jonathan's a cinematographer.
Oh God. Try again. And here you can move the light again.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you tweet it?
Not yet. You can just. Is this the correct Slido?
Yes.
Yeah.
From DHA? Okay. Now we're really live. Okay. I'll do the moderation of questions. Is it just announcements? Because I never read that.
I'll put it in general too.
Yeah.
I guess we can do a quick intro first too.
Yeah, you want an intro?
Yeah. Should we wait for more people?
I think it's okay because a lot of people are watching afterwards.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do intro.
Oh, it only is 11 now.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll read these questions. Chat disabled on live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should tell him to. That's not the right link.
It's not.
Right, so I mean Slido works, but we can also watch the general channel. Yes.
Okay, you want an intro?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Anson, also known as Sly Fox on Rocket Chat. I'm an engineer here at Numerai. Happy to talk to you guys today, answer some questions.
I'm Richard. I'm the founder of Numerai, and we decided to have this chat to try to connect with our users and answer any questions you guys have, which kind of in a way that we can't answer them on the normal chat. We also have to say upfront, we can't really talk about everything because there are regulations in the US on hedge funds. And so things like hedge fund performance, which is the top question right now, is one we can't answer. And we also can't give full details on everything just yet, but we do want to try this, and maybe it's something we can do like once a quarter where we have this kind of chat. Philip?
I'm Philip. You guys know me as PC Monk, and yeah, I'm an engineer here at Numerai as well.
Okay, let's read the first question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we can't do the first question. So we can't.
You talk about why you can.
Well, I just did. Yeah, we can't talk about hedge fund performance because I'll tell you more about what I know about this law. Basically, there's a law in the U.S. which says that only accredited investors can invest in hedge funds, and also you can only market a hedge fund to accredited investors. So that's why you never see any TV commercials for Two Sigma, or because they're not taking in consumer money, they're taking in institutional money or very high net worth individuals. So yeah, the law is there really just to protect retail investors, and a lot of retail investors don't want to be protected, but that's the law. The next question is on reputation. I'll just tell you my current thinking on reputation. I really like BPS's comments in particular because of how simple they were. A lot of what we're working on is actually a new design for the website, which makes things much simpler. One weird thing about the website is right now we have this leaderboard, which is actually meaningless. So for a new user, they see this leaderboard and they're like, why is it ordered in backwards order of log loss? And then they get confused by, well, if you're on top of this leaderboard, does that mean you're going to win money? And we found all these things recently about how poor that is, because we just hired someone called Dave, who's over there, who is really good at user growth metrics and figuring these kinds of things out. And what's good about Dave is he actually doesn't know anything about data science, which is what we need, because some of our users don't yet know everything about data science, but they do want a nice sign-up flow. So yeah, that's an important thing that we're working on. Reputation is basically going to fit into this new UI that we're designing, but it can't be too complicated. We actually think it shouldn't contain, the definition of it shouldn't contain the word log loss. So that's kind of how simple we're going to try to make it. Any questions you guys have seen you like? Oh, Bloomberg. Yeah, so there's a question here that says, Bloomberg reported that February was a terrible month for AI hedge funds. Based on the burn, correlation is high. How will you differentiate yourself from the rest? Through you guys. No one has a hedge fund with as many data scientists as we have. So I think, yeah, I mean, we can't talk about our performance in February, but there's quite a lot that happens aside from the burning. Aside from getting user models that are staked, like basically, it's possible that we'd have a month that has a lot of burning, but the meta model and the risk management and the trading and all the other things down the line could actually turn that into a good month. So it isn't right to think about don't think too much about stock market volatility or things you read in the news in terms of the correlation with performance, and that there's quite a lot of things down the line that we can do to improve things. Better for your fund to have models that are consistently beating log loss, the log loss benchmark, or is it better for them to have consistently have accuracy? Well, what you can see from the way we've incentivized the staking tournament, when Numerai gets burned for there being a poor model, it happens just based on, is the log loss worse than the benchmark? And the benchmark here is the ln of 2. So what that is kind of what the point of that is like, well, no one's going to stake unless they don't believe they at least have a good shot at the consistency being high. So I would say consistency is more important. And even for you, like if you can have a model that's very consistent, I think long term that model is going to make a lot of money, because you'll never have a burn, and so you'll be able to see the long term. So, but people who've burned already with very volatile models, maybe they've burned everything in the last 4 weeks. That's not good. So I don't know if you guys have anything more about that.
So, I mean, the question that it took me a couple times reading it to figure out exactly what it's asking. Like my understanding of the question is that it's saying, okay, we are incentivizing consistency, but it's consistency of beating, like of log loss as opposed to consistency of accuracy. And so the question is almost whether or not accuracy would be a better metric, and why would it have chosen log loss?
Well, log loss is a measure of accuracy, but I'm not
it
sure if they
is,
mean
but it's
the
not quite the
accuracy in
same.
machine learning metric sense.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, it's much better to have consistent models than models that are volatile, have extreme performance in some weeks and really bad performance in other weeks. But yeah. How often will you be updating the training data? Yeah, well, I mean, the training data, everybody kind of doesn't like it when we change it, because they have to retrain their models. But we're going to change it if it improves performance. And what we don't want to do is make this change like be very frequent. But the changes we made in the last data set were huge, for the down the line outcome of the fund. So, and there's a lot of research being done, as to what the data should include. A lot of what the problems with the you can have when defining your universe of stocks, and this is kind of like from the quant side, is you could put in certain industries, for example, like REITs, which are real estate investment trusts. And if you put those in, they don't behave like equities, they behave like bonds. And so they end up not being a good thing to have in the universe. So that's a kind of thing we've taken out of the universe. And then there's other things like data cleaning, and do we get a new data source, and other things like, do we have a better way to do the obfuscation of the data? These are all the reasons why we changed the training data. But what I am interested in, and I think you will see this soonish, is what if you have multiple tournaments, and like 5 simultaneous tournaments with different training data? I think that would be a huge increase in the utilization of Numerai. People will use way more. People would stake more. Plus, it's more likely to have these orthogonal predictions from the users, because you can have one data set, you get lots of really good predictions on it, but they all a lot of them will be correlated. But you can still ensemble them in a way that benefits from all of them. But if you actually take a whole new data set, then you can kind of guarantee that you will have uncorrelated models coming out of each of them. So then you kind of have a meta model of a metadata set, I guess. And then you can do much better. So that's probably something we haven't talked about, which we are working on. Okay. Are there plans to change the staking competition to use hidden confidence values to remove the last minute race to update stakes? Yeah, there are. Philip did some research on it. You want to say what we could do?
Yeah.
And why it's hard?
Yeah. So in general, we think it would be a good idea to have hidden confidence values. I think that would improve the certainly the UX of the staking process, because you wouldn't have that last minute race, which would make everything kind of easier, and it would also get rid of the that weird feeling where you're like, oh, I have to do it higher because I see what everyone else is doing, like, when that shouldn't really factor that much into your decision. On a technical level, that's fairly challenging at this point. With the contract the way it is, like smart contract on the blockchain, there are certain things that are easy to change and certain things that are much harder. The confidence level is something that's in every stake, and it's just kind of out there publicly. It's difficult in general to put something on the blockchain and still keep it private. Now, it's not impossible. There's schemes like ENS, the Ethereum name service, runs an auction that is based on kind of a commit and then a reveal stage. You could also just so it might be easier is we publish a public key and you just encrypt your confidence value and send that, or even your whole stake if you want, and send that just as an encrypted message to us so that only we can read it. And then at the end, we can publish the private key so anyone can verify that the stakes are what we said they were. There are other kind of more more drastic approaches that involve side chains and whatnot. And those are things, and basically what it, like, I think there's going to be a number of changes that we're going to want to make to the contract at some point. One of those is hidden confidence values. Another of those is making the whole thing kind of scale better, make it cheaper to run multiple tournaments that may have many stakes, and a variety of other things. And basically, I think all of those, or at least most of those, should be tackled at once. And that's something that I've been putting effort into recently. And yeah, I like the technical details are rather involved. It's probably not worth getting into them exactly, but yeah, we definitely want to do that at some point.
What was that? Please don't stake at the last minute, if at all possible. Yeah, it is kind of annoying, but we are going to make incentives, so it's better. How many individual humans are submitting models? We don't know. When you sign up to Numerai, it says name your AI, and so a lot of people. There are a lot of legitimate use cases of people not really being humans. I mean, so we don't really know. But that is a big question we've had, and I always find it confusing. So you can have a website and talk about the total number of signed up users, and then you can have a website that talks about the total number of signed up users that have verified their accounts, that like take away the banned users. And that's a number we've talked about before, and that number is, you should know, you wrote the metrics page.
Yeah, I know.
40,000, right?
What number?
Number of users that have verified accounts with emails.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Let me just pull it up.
Let's check.
Yeah.
We should maybe share the metrics with our users.
Yeah, we should.
Total users verified. Oh, okay. Is that not banned?
Yeah, verified, not banned.
Verified, but total users verified, not banned is 37.5 thousand. Sometimes we ban users, and when we do, it's like a large amount. So it's sometimes like, how much have you banned in one day?
I've banned thousands in a single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think any more than about 2,000.
So when we don't know whether they're going to be banned, we don't. But what is always public for anyone to see is the total stakers. So anyone can go to the website and see the amount of stakes that have been happening. Right now, what is that number? About 140 per week, 130 per week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably fair to say that at least 120 are real people of those stakers. But then there's a lot of people who obviously are humans who have won money but then haven't staked or aren't staking every week. So
And I believe that page said there have been 500 total accounts that have ever staked.
504 total accounts that have ever staked.
That's correct.
So there's 150 or so per week staking, and out of anyone who staked, it's kind of a lot. It's like a third of the people who've ever staked are staking every week. And we really care about these usage numbers of Numerai. I mean, I don't know if you guys use any other Ethereum application so frequently that as you use Numerai. If you have any ideas, let me know. But I don't know of any utility token that's being used so much. And I think it's because it's kind of easy to do, easy to stake because you don't need to manage your private keys or anything. The way we've set it up is really good. But that's always what we're focused on. It's like, if the stakes are doubling, that's a really good metric. And that's happened since just here when we've implemented some changes to do user pages and other things like that. So we are pretty happy with user growth. Yeah.
Perhaps it would be interesting to talk about, our vision of verification, whether or not we want users to be, anonymous, not anonymous, AIs.
Yeah. Well, that is a good question. Object science talks a lot about this. Basically, it's going to be hard to. It's one of the easiest ways to prevent bots is to have some kind of validation or verification. The reason this but then this sort of sucks because like you can also set up systems that don't need that, and so like the fact that all the ways to make money on Numerai now involve staking has been this big catch of there's no, even if you were a bot, we'd love for you to stake, but the incentives are such that you'd be careful to actually be a bot with a very, very good model. But there are things that we're interested in to do with verification of an account. Even Numerai U, which is like you could sign up to Numerai with an edu address, was a sort of step in that direction because it was forcing you to use an address that's probably more able to reveal your identity than some other email address.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. So I guess there's always going to be this tension between us having to take more information from you versus you just allowing you to be anonymous, right? I think it is in our vision that we want this platform to be for AIs. Like as Richard said, name your AI. We want everyone to be able to come play, make their AI, and ideally stay anonymous. But at the same time, there are things that we'd like to give our users, right? Like airdrops, like Numerai U. And a lot of these things it's very hard for us to give it to you guys for free without some type of guarantee that you're a human. So I think that is something that we think about a lot, which is how much verification we actually need from you guys. And for every airdrop that that we want to push forward, every type of incentive that we want to give you, we're trying to minimize the amount of verification we need from you guys. But there might still be some level of that. But
yeah,
cool.
Computer froze. CryptoKitties is being used more than NMR, according. That's 100% correct.
Yeah.
CryptoKitties is obviously the premier Ethereum application.
Yeah.
But
some would argue it doesn't have utility, but I would disagree. Yeah, it does.
Are there any questions on Rocket
token? That was it. Oh yeah. I haven't seen any.
CryptoKitties don't burn.
Okay. Let's go back to questions.
Definitely burning more than any other token.
Are we burning a lot? Yeah, we probably are. In terms of money too. Yes. Recent market performance, I think we've talked about that enough. How would the most useful submissions, how would the most useful submissions look like? Say 0.692 to 0.693, 95% of the time, or I don't know log loss details that well. I do think probably the first one. So you want something that's better than the benchmark, but you know for sure the consistency is really high. I think that tends to be a good thing to stake on. But the higher the better, and that's why the staking auction, it still rewards people who have the lowest log loss. But definitely don't try to. If you think you have a log loss of 0.68, you probably need to try again, because it's pretty hard to get something consistent with that level of log loss. Will tomorrow be a big burn? I don't know. Can you tell him, Philip?
No,
I think we should not.
Yeah. I have ways that I can guess.
Yeah.
Based on our data, but it's only 70% correct, anyways.
We'll find out tomorrow.
My guess is that people have kind of overcorrected based on the recent burns. If you just look at the test data, well, not you guys can't look at the test data. If you look at the validation data, you can see that there aren't really very many eras where you can have this kind of where the log loss can be that bad. So you should see the training data and the validation data as representative, and that it would be kind of difficult for a model built on that data to basically get worse than random log loss forever. So don't understake.
So in your perspective, why do you feel like the last 4 tournaments were big burns?
I don't know. I haven't researched it. But it's clear to the users that the era is a weird era. Those live have actually produced things that would be kind of 2 standard deviations away from what they would have expected going into it. And if that distribution holds up, then you can't expect to get 2 standard deviation events every month. What are your plans to increase the intrinsic value of the NMR token? Well, do you mean intrinsic value? Or do you mean value? Intrinsic value for this kind of token is really how much it's being used. And imagine there is, in the future, demand, if we go from, so we have 140 stakes a week, let's say, if we go from that to 1,000, and people are staking on all of these different tournaments that we have, then that's showing that the demand for Numerai for its real use case is increasing. And you can never predict speculative use case because it's kind of like a macro trend. So in an environment where you want Numerai to be used in all environments, and therefore would have demand even when tokens have catastrophic losses and go to 0. So I think that's what we're playing really is kind of long term. And sometimes people see us as doing things that are short term bad for the value of the token, but that's really our job, and it's to make these longer term take these longer term positions so that 3 years from now, 4 years from now, like people are using this and it works. It's not like something that's like deeply correlated with macro events. And then also from a legal perspective, there's some issues around tokens and people are talking about them. And that's why we didn't do an ICO. We gave the token away, and that's why we didn't give it away for a speculative project that doesn't exist. We gave it away where it did exactly everything in the first white paper we made. So I'm proud of the way we've done it, and I do think that it's going to become more and more obvious that the way we did it was the right way and the ethical way to do it. Ethereum application.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I guess I can also add, like, the only thing that you can do with Numerai right now is to play in our tournament, use it for staking. From my perspective, what we're working on right now and our focus is to make Numerai better, right? The tournament better, the UX better, and for us, the more you guys use it, like, the happier we are. So we're just going to focus on making the tournament as good as possible for you guys.
Speaking of the long term, in the short term, I've run out of battery.
Yeah, we need to
use much more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you scrap things?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Do you want to read the next question?
So we answered this one. Did we answer?
Reputation.
No. So that's the next question, right? So when reputation is implemented, do you expect to increase payouts or move payouts that are currently in staking? If increased, by how much?
Well, yeah, like reputation is kind of a way to almost know if someone's a bot or not in a certain way. So we can, if someone does build up reputation, suppose they get extremely good live consistency, then that's likely to be someone who isn't a bot, because a bot would sort of be submitting randomly and winning randomly. So to people like that, we want to give them a lot of numeraire to keep playing. So we're really trying to figure out on the margin, if we give a numeraire to some user, what's the probability that they're going to stake it? And if that's high, then we want to give that person numeraire. And with Numerai U, which a lot of you guys didn't like, we were really doing an experiment. That's why it was a soft launch thing. There was no Medium post about it. We didn't tweet about it. We were just trying to see what would happen if we gave away, if we did another airdrop, different from our first one, which went to our users. So what we did there was kind of buy some training data and see, okay, well, we gave away this much numeraire. How much of that ended up being staked? How much of that wasn't staked the first week, but was staked the second week? How much of it went straight to an exchange? So we can see all that, and that's kind of why we did it in the way we did with like a soft launch. And now we're looking at bringing it back with some more, like, based on what we've learned, basically.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about that? I'm gonna actually go get my charger.
Okay.
Yeah. And specifically the question of where is this numeraire going to come from? Is it going to reduce the staking price pool? The intention at this point, as I understand it, is that we're not going to reduce the staking price pool, but it would come. But we would be giving out more numeraire than we currently are. By how much? It's hard to say.
TBD.
I mean, it's not going to be an order of magnitude more.
But yeah, I think we'll see. I mean, as we roll out reputation, it's going to be the first time we do it, and maybe after a few rounds we'll learn more about like how that impacts behavior. Kind of what Richard said. We're watching those metrics, very carefully. I guess the idea is we want more people to stake more, right? And as long as we are able to move those metrics in those ways, I think we'll continue to give out Numerai as a way to like incentivize you guys to do that.
Yeah, I think there's also something kind of number to get comfortable with, which is like if we give out 100,000 Numerai in an airdrop, and 30% of it goes to bots, that might actually be a really good airdrop. Like that actually might have really good long-term consequences on the usage of Numerai and the value of it to our users. So that's always difficult for people. And if we want to be 100% sure, you have an airdrop where everybody has to come to our office with their passport, and then we'll get 7 people some Numerai. But if you have it more relaxed, we don't mind some bots getting it. It actually can be really good.
Yeah.
So I think it's I don't think Numerai U, the first phase of it, was so as bad as people thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we did expect roughly that to happen.
Yeah. That being said, we're hearing your guys' feedback. It's definitely not good when you feel like you're working hard, doing the right thing, but you're not getting as much as someone who's botting. Whatever incentive scheme, whatever changes we make to the tournament, we're going to make sure that the people who do the best get the most rewards, because that's the way we grow our community, I think, in like a healthy way. We're going to continue giving out small amounts to people to help them get to a place where they can start playing. But at the end of the day, moving forward in the long term, whoever plays Numerai the best, performs the best, those are the people who are going to get the most.
And that is, I mean, if you look at some of the best users, some of the ones that are being the longest, some of the ones that are active in chat, like if you look at how much Numerai they've won, sometimes it's like there are users that have won more than $1 million. But money doesn't motivate everybody, and they're also motivated by fairness and other things. Even uptime. I mean, our uptime on the website, we've had some problems with staking and Ethereum backlogs and other things. So all those things are important too, and so we do appreciate the negative feedback for sure. Why not trade cryptos? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like we are a lot of people. I can go half an hour talking to someone about investing in our fund, and then accredited investors, and then they say, so what cryptos do you trade? And like they think because we have a crypto, we must be trading crypto. The problem with crypto is that it's very new. So the data on equities, goes back 30 or 40 years, and so you can see different regimes. And I was talking about like the macro environment of crypto, like it's just like kind of this straight line up and straight line half the way down. And I think for a lot of people, if you're trying to do anything quant, you really want to have the longest possible backtest and data set to really make something that has training data. So if we were to give you a data set of crypto data and we were like, try this tournament, you guys would be like, this is terrible. There's nothing to learn here. It's very hard to build a model with consistency. So I don't think that will be the case forever. So I do think it's possible we could one day have a fund that trades cryptos. But also I think, I mean, we have other ideas there too. And there's some other questions down here about this. Where like, thinking about DAOs, could you have some kind of DAO that trades crypto? And we've been thinking about that lately.
Yeah.
But it's really probably like two years out or something, maybe 3, maybe never. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's it. Like, there's definitely nothing like inherent to it that makes it impossible or anything. yeah, it's something we're keeping an eye on.
I can take the next question. Are you planning on reopening Numerai U airdrop? What other ways will there be to earn NMR going forward? So yeah, we will reopen the Numerai U airdrop. Stay tuned, coming soon. What other ways will there be to earn Numerai going forward? We're working on that as well. I think it'll be a combination of airdropping to help new users with 0 NMR, but it's also going to be different things that you can do within the tournament, so that you can prove to us that you're a good user. So a lot of the feedback that I've gotten on Rocket Chat is like, oh, what if you gave some numeraire to people who performed well 3 times in a row or 5 times in a row. Those are really great ideas, and we are actually working on those too. So I'm still in the process of figuring out what are the best performance streaks or like performance measurements for us to reward, but I think there's going to be a lot of performance-based incentives coming up soon.
There's also an airdrop coming up on Monday, which I'm not going to say much more about, but
yeah.
I think it might be to a lot of your guys' benefit. Yeah, it's not just about new users.
Existing users as well, yeah.
But some existing users are going to be disappointed. It's an unavoidable consequence, but others are going to be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stay tuned.
Are you still considering having additional uses such as the use of Amazon computation service? Yeah, we did have this idea that I wrote about, which is like, if you could stake some numeraire and get a computer, an AWS instance like pops up that has every machine learning library on it and all the connections to our API, and it's just like the perfect place to make a Numerai model. And we give it to you for free, then that would be cool. But if you give away things for free, they get botted. So the idea was, what if you stake some numeraire, and then you can actually use the computer for the period of your stake. And so it's a way to actually use the same staking contract we built, but with the idea of giving users computational power. Because I have had some users in the very first month of Numerai in 2015, I sent emails to everybody personally. I was excited, like, you won $300, you won $500, and then back when you still paid in Bitcoin, and then people would be like, I spent more money than that on AWS. So that was kind of disappointing. So we've been thinking about giving access to computational power somehow since then, and I think staking is a kind of cool, futuristic, Sybil attack-proof way to do it. But it's still in development, and I hope we can do something there. We did say we do something for Q2. I hope we can.
Yeah, we're growing our team. So hopefully, as we grow our team, we'd have more firepower to implement some of these cooler features. Yeah, Q2. Let's do it.
Yeah. Can you give a shout out to specific users who've been contributing to that in ways you'd love to see more of?
Ooh. Can I give a shout out?
Yeah.
Can I give a shout out to Omni Analytics? I love your dashboard. Good job, you guys. Huge fan.
BPS stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, Numerix is great, and he's helped out in plenty of other ways as well. But yeah, no, BPS is a lot of great stuff.
How do you pronounce Dangerous? Do we know yet?
I was pronounced it
Dangerous.
Diners. He said it was more like Dangerous, if I'm right,
Okay.
something like that. But yeah, he's been great on just on chat, like welcoming new users, explaining stuff patiently, and he's also great about reporting problems when they come up. UUAZD, Wolfgang, has taken over Numerai PI and is doing a good job at that. Yeah, so I mean, we definitely we're very happy when people, obviously, contribute code in that sort of way, but also helping out new users is great. Writing blog posts is great. Kano wrote a great one. A couple months back. Yeah.
Everyone in the bot hunting channel, I think.
Yes.
Thank you all, Zimbabwe. I think you gave me a lot of useful information for the EDU farming issues.
Arbitrage has been at that for a while. He's great.
All types of feedback, always welcome.
But maybe if this person meant
like performing well,
performance-wise, did I delete it? Yeah, for performance reasons, I don't like quoting like how people are doing on the test set, because that's something we try to use as validation, so we don't people like overfit to it. But you can definitely see certain users have very, very good live performance and are doing, and we're actually going to try to, in the next releases of Numerai, expose that information more. Like you can't see on the user page, like has this guy won, like how many times in a row has he won, and like stuff like that. So I think a lot of that will be exposed with the new release.
You can see it on the analytics dashboard.
Oh yeah. It's like, outside developers always ahead of us.
Yeah.
Badges. The badges participation history and user profiles was a sudden addition. Are their features meant to be purely descriptive, or do they serve any other purpose? I think it's cool to have basically NMR rewards for each badge. And that's sort of how we've been thinking about it. So they're sort of hard enough to achieve that we'd want to give NMR for it.
Yeah.
And staking is the one badge we have. And what's nice about staking, it's sort of like some indication of whether the account's like really legit, because it's like someone who's actually staked. And that, that always means that they're probably not a bot or something.
Yeah. So I think badges is just like it's a front end, it's like a UI for us to communicate whether or not this user has done certain things, like performance-wise, that we really, really like. And we'll award you an NMR for it, but we also just want you to be able to like brag about it, right? Be on your profile. Kind of like, I imagine it, in Stack Overflow, when you do certain things that are really, really impressive, you kind of get to wear that as a badge of honor. I think moving forward on your user profiles, there should be, if you do amazing things, I think it should be immediately obvious to everyone who looks at your profile that, wow, this guy's amazing. Apart from just how much NMR you got. Yeah.
We also had this idea of making them like non-fungible tokens.
Yeah. Like CryptoKitties.
What is that called? 721?
Yeah.
We might get more usage than CryptoKitties if we do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that would mean every badge is actually something that's represented on the blockchain, which is kind of cool.
But then, like, would they be transferable?
Yeah. Do you want to share? Maybe you can share them with other players.
If you guys have thoughts, and maybe you guys can tell us more.
Badges and participation at user were sudden.
Oh, sorry. That's the one we just showed.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Where is Zondadan and Jeffrey Bathway? Yeah, they're not here anymore. They both. Jeffrey joined as an advisor to Numerai, probably in early 2016, and then came on when we really needed him. And then earlier this year, moved on. He went to another. Well, I don't even think he has another job. It's just like he just went.
He's
tending
to just start something up, I think. If I remember right.
Yeah. He might start like a data analytics company. Yeah. Science company. And Zonda also is still an advisor. Zander was the person who built Numerai, and well, Philip joined pretty much the moment you started building it. Right?
Yeah. I joined like only 6 weeks before we launched Numerai, but I jumped in and did a bunch of that. But Xander had laid the groundwork, and he and I were working the entire time on it. Yeah, no, he did the majority of that for sure.
Are you considering locking up some NMR supply? Yeah, this is an interesting one. We have a lot of NMR like that we are able to mint at the moment. And the point of the way we set up the contract was that you could mint 100,000 per week, so that because we were like the central control of NMR, we couldn't just we didn't want all 21 million tokens on our books in our control, because then anyone with some tokens would be like, well, maybe they're just gonna like dump them or like move them or sell them, or so we wanted to have it much harder. We'll make it clear with this with the minting process that stuff was only coming in the future. But then Numerai ends up having very high prices on secondary markets, and it just seemed like it seems like now we have way too much. We're able to mint way too much. So yeah, I am actually thinking about locking it up. It's also potentially better for security to lock it up. It's a good question. And then implement a DAO to manage it. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I think that it sounds kind of cool, but it could be some legal things there you'd have to look at. Presumably he means like that the DAO would then decide how much actually goes to the users and things like that.
Right, or I mean, it could allocate it in any way. I mean, I don't know how a DAO could do things like bug bounties or whatever, but yeah.
And just this is sort of related to the first airdrop we did. I want to speak a bit about that because Object Science was asking me about it, and I wrote him some information about it, which we didn't really make public. What we were trying to do with the airdrop is basically, give it to people who were going to use it. So the people who had made the most money on Numerai up until that point were the people we wanted to give it to. But what we did when we were looking at the numbers, it was like, man, this is all the Numerai is going to go to like the best, like basically nearly all of it would go to the top. And so we had this distribution of a big power law of like, it was almost half of our allocation was going to go to like 8 people or something. And then you also had bots, so we took away as many bots as we could before we did that. But we ended up basically taking the quadratic root, fourth root of this number. And so the people even in the middle were actually getting a decent amount of Numerai. And so quite a lot of people got like 500 or 1,000, even if they'd earned very little dollars. So I think that was a good thing to do because we did want to have a distribution be kind of like fair. And then because of, I wanted to make another point. But then we also only decided to give out 1 million in this process, and we had 21 million tokens. So that ended up being like, man, you only gave away 1 million. It's like less than 5% of the total supply. Why are you keeping so much for yourselves? And the math for that was simply that when we had 12,000 users, we thought that was 5% of the amount of users we would eventually have. because of what Kaggle's numbers were for users. So that's sort of why we did it. And we didn't want it to be like, you had to basically be in the early phases to have any use of Numerai, and that we did want new users to still feel like, yeah, there's millions of Numerai still available to be earned. So that was the motivation for that. So that's just some history. Maybe a lot of you don't even remember the first airdrop.
Questions from?
Okay, yeah. Someone wants us to answer questions on the chat.
Is that maybe the one from BPS?
Is it a long one?
Yeah, just scroll up a little bit. That one, I would imagine.
We try to find a model that works. And let's say, for example, that one of the features is a value indicator. That might work well on average over the training data, but not work well over long periods of live data. We do not have time to. So how does Numerai deal with situations like this? The way we deal with it is sort of like, don't worry about it. Like we're trying to make the data in a way like Numerai is not crowdsourcing quants. We don't want you to think about time series very much. We don't want you to think about universe construction and portfolio optimization and how to make an institutional grade equity strategy and how to minimize turnover and trading costs. That's really pushing it in terms of what our users would want. And I think people want a simple data science problem. Well, not simple, but very well posed and simple in its design. And then to basically have freedom to do whatever model they want on that. So that's sort of like a philosophical thing we have. I think that works quite well. So yeah, but because none of that's happening with the users, it's like our job to be very good at that. So it's our job to be very good at universe construction and these other things and understanding time series, so that you don't have to work on that part of it, which and you can just do the fun part, the modeling part. So yeah, that's sort of how we think about that. And I do think we can always get better. Like in our new tournaments that we're thinking about doing, I think there's going to be a lot more like that you can do, and you'll have a lot more freedom to build models that, for example, like in the past we gave away categorical variables, and by just having one categorical variable as a feature, you could actually, like, the set of creative things you could do increased very much. And I think if we did some more things like that, it could really allow, like, whoa, okay, this feature actually allows me to look at this problem very differently. So I think there's a lot that will happen in that direction. Fred Ursum recently suggests that because Numerai currently centrally distributes data, it limits potentially the most important ingredient. Do you agree with this? Yeah, I mean, Fred and I talked about this in a hot tub once when we launched Numerai. Fred's an investor in Numerai and one of the first people I met here with Olaf. And he basically, it's always kind of obvious to him that, like, we can crowdsource models, but not crowdsource data. And so how are we getting data? It's like, well, are we just doing it like normal hedge funds where we're slowly buying different data sources and cleaning different data sources? And if we're just doing it like that, then are we ever really going to catch up from a data perspective to like 2 Sigma? So that's a very good question. And what creative ways could you have data? And the one thing with machine learning, it's like, well, the reason you can crowdsource machine learning is because a lot of people can do it. A lot of people have the packages required for it. A lot of people have taught themselves on Coursera and Kaggle how to do that. But not many people just have really, really high quality financial data on their laptops. So there's quite a few issues with data. But I've been looking at the some of the blockchain projects, like even Enigma used to be about data, and they have some ideas, and then Ocean, all these different decentralized data ideas, but still not clear whether these would be good ways to do it for stock market data, which is it's not the same as like, oh yeah, I have a lot of photos. I'll give you all the photos on my phone so you can do machine learning on them for computer vision. Financial data, it's like just very unlikely that people actually have this already. But yeah, I think it's a very good thing for someone to work on. I think there will be some great decentralized data platform.
Yeah, that's step 2 of the master plan, right?
Yeah, we have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I
think we're getting close to the hour mark.
Oh yeah, we're nearly done. Anyone want to vote up something really interesting? Can you talk a little bit about the meta model? How you solved the credit assignment problem for ensembling? Yeah, meta model, we've been through a lot of different approaches with the meta model. A lot of what we're trying to do is make sure we're not capturing a bunch of correlated models and then averaging them and then thinking that averaging is going to work. And if you have lots of bots, you can actually have a lot of these correlated models where they're not really good. So you end up wanting to scrap those. And so a lot of our initial meta model designs were actually about how do you not include those models. And then staking ends up being this kind of much more creative way of doing that, where you could actually have the users self-selecting by staking into whether they would be in the meta model. And right now, the meta model includes only stakers, and that's had a huge impact. And I've written about that on Medium before. Credit assignment is interesting. Yeah, he's talking about attribution. So how do you give attribution to the right data scientist? And it's very difficult to do. I mean, if you leave one out, what's the impact? That's one way you can look at it. But we haven't put that much work into that at the moment. The staking is a good enough filter that we're relying on that primarily. Are you worried about consistency constraints? I.e. 75% makes all of the models too correlated. I don't think it's too bad. I think 75% is quite a low bar, and that there's quite a lot you could do creatively above that. So I think that's a good level of consistency. Should we do one more? Can you please give more details about the mechanics of the reputation system that's supposed to be released in 2 weeks?
Great question.
Yeah, we already talked about reputation. Was the first question, I think. We want to really simplify it, and we want to make sure anyone can understand it right away. So it's going to be very, very simple. It's going to have a lot to do with live consistency.
Cool.
Okay, seems like we're done. I'll just check Rocket Chat if there's anything else. Anything? Okay, I don't see any questions on Rocket Chat. Thanks, everyone. Let us know what you thought of this. Actually, I'll post on the chat. And you can thumbs up me if you want to see us do this again. I think we should have had fire sounds. I really do. Like. Yeah. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.